Welcome to No Stats, where we call it how we see it.
Back again with another one.
Back again, good brother. And before we jump into today's topic, viewers, make sure y'all like, share, comment, subscribe, ring that bell so y'all can stay up to date with all the content, NFL, NBA, boxing, all the major sports. And make sure y'all staying connected to me and Peach because we're going to keep bringing y'all that heat again and again and again.
And again and again and again.
Watch the handle, it takes skill. We gotta run it back. We in the field, and you said it takes that. You in your field, we looking for the facts. Let's keep it real, yeah, we talking no stats. Yeah, we talking no stats. Yeah, we talking no stats.
Yes, sir. Brother, we're on to team number 2 in the AFC South today, the Indianapolis Colts. So we're going to do our preview on them. Take a look at some of the pieces that they lost last year. Last year was a very underwhelming season for the Colts. I think a lot of people expected them to be better. And we'll get into how they performed last year. But it's been a big offseason for them, right? They get a new head coach. They get some draft pick that they expect to help out. So we're going to jump into it. We're not going to waste no time. Give our preview, our breakdown of this team, and then jump into their schedule as well. Give our predictions on the season. We're going to get this loaded up.
Let's get right, man. I'm expecting not a lot of big things, but, I'm expecting a better season than last season.
Yeah, and of course they missed the playoffs last year, right? But this is a team with talent, some really good talent at some pieces. They got Jonathan Taylor, who a year ago, was maybe looked at as one of the best, if not the best running back in the NFL. Had a monster year a few years ago. You got a guy like Quentin Nelson at the guard, who is the best guard in football. Right, their offensive line isn't too bad in Indianapolis. Was one of the premier units in the league. I think they may have taken a small step back, but I think they can return to form. And then you got a guy like Shaquille Leonard at the middle linebacker spot on defense, who is a monster. Had injuries last year that kind of kept him out, but he's the quarterback of that defense. He's the most valuable player back there. Then they got a couple other good pieces that's plugging in. But when you take a look at their losses from last season, they lose Paris Campbell, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Was supposed to come in there and be a slot and give them some explosiveness downfield. That didn't pan out for whatever reason. So they move on from him. They lose linebacker Bobby Okereke. And it looks like they're just going to fill that spot with some depth. They didn't get any big splash names in free agency, but linebacker is a position where, you don't have to have the most talent like this, like the secondary and that defensive line. Speaking of defensive line, they use Ngakoue, who was a big contributor to the pressures that they got last year. It'll be interesting to see how that new dynamic, that defensive line works without him and generating pressure. But we'll see. And then they also lose their starting quarterback last year, Matt Ryan, who has made it known that he's not retiring. But Matt Ryan is kind of, he's burnt that match out. He won't strike again.
He'll be a backup. It's funny, too. It's funny, too, with their quarterback situation. I feel like since Andrew Luck, they haven't really found their, quarterback that's gonna kind of like be here, for 4 to 5 to 6 years. Unfortunately, what happened with Andrew Luck in the injury history, but then you see Phillip Rivers come in there, you see Matt Ryan get in there. I think now with them having Carson Wentz, I think now with you having Anthony Richardson, franchise guy that you can actually build around going forward, I think this could kind of be a better season than what we kind of could expect. And to elaborate on the season, going into week 6, this team was 3-2-1. And then after that, they went.
They beat the Colts. They beat the Chiefs. That when we're talking about that, they beat the Chiefs.
They finished 1-10 after week 6. And then Jonathan Taylor only played 11 games. But in a lot of those games, against the Eagles, I think they only lost by like 1 point. They beat the Raiders. A couple of those games they was there, so I don't think this team was as bad as they was on paper than what they actually put out there on the field.
Agreed, bro. And that's a great point because they did start the season off kind of strong, and I think that win against the Chiefs caught everyone's eyes, and thought maybe that they would walk away as the winners of the AFC South. Didn't happen, but I think Matt Ryan also ran out of gas. They had that quarterback, situation where they're trying to figure that out. And teams start to figure you out. As the NFL season progresses, teams start to sink into their identities. Anything that's new is pretty much already on film. If you have a new quarterback or a new coach without a lot of film to take a look in, it's hard to kind of plan for those games. Or harder, I'll say, than teams that's been constructed for a while. So that makes some things tough, and that's why real football really doesn't start until like December. That's when you see who's the real good teams. But with that being said, they also lose Stephon Gilmore, who was their top corner back last year. Really didn't do too much. I think he had a big interception in that Chiefs game. But again, it's hard to produce at a high level when you're on the field so much. That defense was on the field a lot. They couldn't put a lot of points up and sustain drives. But they bring in Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen, come fresh off a Super Bowl appearance, and make potentially could have been an MVP season for Jalen Hurts. Like you said, they draft Anthony Richardson, this guy who was supposed to be maybe the most athletic, potential-wise, or saying he could be the most athletic quarterback in NFL history. And I forget what he ran, like a 4.3 maybe, 4.5, 4.4. He tested at the combine off the charts. And then that's when a lot of teams wanted to look into him. Now, the question mark with Anthony Richardson is his arm talent. And he needs to be paired with that right head coach, that right offensive coordinator, that right system to unlock those athletic traits and all of that potential that he has. At Florida, he has some flashes of really, good games, but then sometimes you see him come really mediocre against, some premier talent, I'll say.
You see that also, too with his type. Not to cut you off, bro, but you see that kind of with the dual threat quarterbacks where it, it's the mechanics and the decision making going forward when they first come into the league, because certain sets in college, this is gonna be a run play. You got that option to run, but when you're in the NFL where you got these schemes, the more defensive based around dual threat quarterbacks, you see that adjustment period with guys like Anthony Richardson.
Absolutely, bro. And it's an adjustment altogether, right? Because you're used to depending on your legs and making that a part of your games, your game. And if the coaches say, we're running these read options, we're going to run the ball with our running back, with our quarterback. If you got it, take off. You get to the NFL now where you got receivers, tight ends who are getting paid, and they want the ball. Right, you can't just be taking off and running every chance you get. And then also teams start to load the box. These are defensive schemes that are made to adjust to this type of player. And more in recent years, right, with Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields and all these mobile quarterbacks that we have in the NFL today. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes along. Right, he could show flashes, and they could still have a bad year. Look at Justin Fields. I mean, he's a starting quarterback in the future. They didn't draft a quarterback this year with the number 1 overall pick. That's how bad they were. But they still have their quarterback of the future. They just got to figure some things out. So he could perform well, and the Colts could still have an underachieving season. But I think everybody would be glued on the TV to see how Anthony Richardson performs, bro. I'm going to jump down the list to Gardner Minshew because they also bring Gardner in from Philly, who's the backup quarterback there. And Gardner Minshew's journey has been kind of weird, bro. He had that whole Minshew mania thing in Jacksonville where he was winning games and rattling off games. It looked like he could have been that starting quarterback. They moved on and turned out to be the right decision. But then he went to Philly and played well in the games that he jumped in for Jalen Hurts. Didn't play bad at all. I think Gardner Minshew is still a capable quarterback, capable bridge quarterback for franchises waiting to draft their future, star that they are wishing for.
I think that's a great backup too to have for Anthony Richardson.
I agree.
Because he's kind of a little bit battle tested, his pedigree and where he came from.
My thing is, I want to see how the Colts, and nothing has been mentioned yet, right? Training camp hasn't even started, but I want to see how the Colts figure this out. Is Gardner Minshew going to be the starter? Right now, I looked at their depth chart on ESPN. Gardner Minshew is penciled in as the starter. So do they say bring Anthony Richardson along slowly, let Gardner get some, those quarterback one reps, some game experience, let Anthony Richardson learn. Don't throw him in the fire automatically. I mean, Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith for a whole year. So there's nothing wrong with that option. It's just, if Gardner ends up playing phenomenally, now you're in a situation like, we got this guy on the bench. He's supposed to come in here. So I would like to see how they handle that quarterback controversy, over there. Then they also add a weapon in Josh Downs from North Carolina in the draft, and adds Julian Brents at corner to kind of replace Stephon Gilmore down the road, and see how that goes. But I'm interested to see how a lot of things shake out for the Colts, bro. But
on the key addition parts, like I love the Isaiah McKenzie addition because he's kind of that guy that you could kind of move around. They did that with him in Buffalo. Right. He's in the slot, he's in that second man, he's in that backfield, that wing spot. So I think that's someone good to have in this offense because if you look at their wide receiver dynamics with Michael Pittman Jr., you got Alec Pierce. I don't know if those guys can be your number one and your number two. I think they show flashes of that. But I think if you have a guy like Isaiah McKenzie who you can, he's going to put pressure on the defense. I think it could open up things for those other guys, making targets easier.
Right. And I think to touch on that receiver room, Michael Porter Jr. and Alec Pierce are possession receivers. Michael Porter Jr. is a big body. He's going to go up
Michael
high
Pittman.
Point.
He said Michael Porter.
I said Michael Porter. My fault. I'm still thinking about the Nuggets. I'm still thinking about that Nuggets championship. Michael Pittman Jr., big body receiver, right? Going high point the ball, give him one-on-one matchups down the field. And Alec Burke is a route running technician, possession receiver. But they don't have any speed. They lack that speed. That's what Paris Campbell's supposed to be in that slot position. And you're absolutely right. Isaiah McKenzie can move around. He can be in that slot. He can get you some yards after catch. And I think they expect the same from Josh Downs as well. We drafted him out of North Carolina. So I'm interested to see how Shane Steichen puts this together.
Yeah, especially with Jonathan Taylor coming back from injury. He's going to be healthy now. That this offense has potential in the next coming years to be real dynamic. If they keep things intact, they develop their rookies the right way.
I agree, bro. I agree. I think a lot of this is going to hinge on the two most important pieces to an NFL football team: coach and quarterback. Shane Steichen got the like an interim offensive coordinator spot in LA with the Chargers before they drafted Justin Herbert. He was the OC that first year there when Justin Herbert had that phenomenal rookie year. And then he left and got the OC position in Philly, where Jalen Hurts had this phenomenal year. And now he's already has a head coaching job. A lot more responsibility. So it'd be interesting to see how he kind of puts this together. And if the coach will give him a chance, right? Because it's not going to happen overnight. This isn't going to be a 1 year boom thing. So I'm interested to see how that goes, brother. But let's dive into the
Indianapolis Colts on the rise. Look, Seth is definitely going to have something on this schedule that's going to piss me off, man.
But we're going to get there, bro. You're 2023 Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to get there.
I also want to apologize for the viewers out here. It is so hot. I've yet to put my air conditioner in. I look like a honey bun right now, so I apologize. Glazed honey bun at that.
You said I didn't want to say it. I was looking down like, damn. Nah. But the Colts last season finished season 4-12-1, right? Got that fourth pick, which allowed them to select Anthony Richardson. So taking a look at the beginning of their schedule, bro, I think those first four games are kind of tough. The Colts haven't won a season opener since 2013. It's been 10 years since they won a season opener. And it's going to be tough to do against Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. And, they get Calvin Ridley back and Travis Etienne. That Jags team is a team on the rise and to watch out for. And I just don't see them pulling that one out. Week 2, possible spot for a W here. But I think these are two similar teams, right, where they have potential, but they could be very bad seasons. Rookie quarterbacks, new head coach. But I just think that Texans team at home, I think that defense will be stout. I can see this being a, 17-14 Texans game, especially while the coach try to figure out who is their starting quarterback. That is something that I think Houston has the advantage over. C.J. Stroud's the guy. He's, getting all the quarterback 1 reps. So I have them losing a close one to the Texans on the road. Then it doesn't get easier. They got to play Lamar in Baltimore. Then they're back home for a Rams team that will be back healthy. Then just won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. And hungry. Matthew Stafford comes back. Cooper Kupp comes back. They won't be as good as that Super Bowl year, but I think they'll be ready to prove something. So I think that's a tough law. What you think about the first 4 games, bro?
I can definitely see it, bro. I was a little skeptical on the season opener, but it definitely makes sense. Like you said, young team, young quarterback, still, kind of figuring things out. But the 2 losses from week 1 to week 6, kind of skeptical on the Jaguars. I know they're an elite team, especially in this division. But I don't know, maybe the Colts might can get one of them from them. But everything else I agree with.
Yeah, and it's possible, right? I mean, division games are always the weirdest. I mean, the Eagles took their 1 loss last year, the first loss of the year, to the Washington Commanders. The way they were rolling, you didn't think that was going to be the game that they lost
at all.
End up losing. So those division games are weird. Yeah, teams get up for that. You play them twice a year. You know them. But I'm just giving the Jags the benefit of the doubt as a team that's ready to take that next step into that territory of pushing and trying to get to an AFC Championship game and making some noise. So I have them taking both of those. I do have them getting that win at home against the Titans. I think the Titans are a team on the decline, bro. We're going to talk about them next. Next show will be about the Titans. I think they're a team on the decline. They're trying to figure out the quarterback. They have Ryan Tannehill. They have they just drafted the guy I'm thinking about.
Then they got the kid Malik too, Malik Willis.
They got Malik Willis, but they just drafted. Why am I drawing a blank on the kid they drafted from Mississippi State, went to Penn State? We'll talk about it, like I said, on the next show. But I think they're trying to figure some things out. Those rumors that Derrick Henry was supposed to be shipped, I think that franchise is about to hit a rebuild really soon. So then jumping to week 7, they're home versus the Browns.
Woo! Browns get a dub, baby.
Yeah, the Browns will get the dub here, bro. I think this will be a Nick Chubb game. I think it's going to be hard for them to stop him on the ground. And then on the other end, I think Myles Garrett is going to, no matter who it is, Gardner Minshew, Anthony Richardson, I think it's going to be hard for them to get away from him, bro. Myles Garrett is maybe if not one top 3 pass rushers in this league. And it's going to be scary. And they also added in, some other key pieces that we'll get to when we talk about the Browns. Lost there. Losing again, back-to-back games, home to the Saints. I went with the Saints here just based off of quarterback play. Derek Carr, by week 8, should be settled in. Familiar with Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, if he's back, Alvin Kamara. They just have a lot of pieces. I don't think the Colts can match that, especially if this was maybe a season opener, I could see the Colts maybe eking this one out. But week 8, like I said, I think the Saints would be settled. And then week 9, I had them going to Carolina and getting a dub. Carolina's going to be one of those teams still trying to figure some things out. Great offseason. They should be better than next year. We'll see. But I got the Colts pulling that one out. And then week 10, I had this penciled in as a loss until I realized that it's in Germany. It's not in New England. So with it being in Germany, yeah, bro, I think Anthony Richardson should be the quarterback by now if Gardner Minshew does start the season out. Because you're looking at that, they would be what? What's that? 1-7 by week 8. So if Gardner's the quarterback and they're 1-7, it's about time to put Anthony Richardson in the game. And it could be in Carolina. And now you put this guy in a mix where the games are easier. These next 3 games, you get a bye in there, and you have a chance to win 3 straight games. What that would do for Anthony Richardson's confidence, bro, would be tremendous. The team is, settled in around him. Everyone's into their role. You insert this dynamic young quarterback, and the whole game plan changes because now he can use his feet. And I see them beating the Panthers and beating the Patriots before going into the bye. What you think about that? Those last couple games.
I like it, bro. Like you said, if they do the quarterback switch here, I think it'll be great for him to gain some momentum heading into the bye. I see you got them coming out of the bye beating the Bucs as if the Bucs is some type of scrub team, but we'll talk about that when we preview the Bucs.
I don't know.
So we'll give them the dub.
We need a guest on here. We need a guest on here for this Bucs when we do the Bucs.
I think the Buccaneers are going to be better, man.
If there's any Bucs fans watching this, let us know y'all predictions.
I'm your guy.
Comment on any video. I just need to see if Bucs fans feel the way that Peach feels about the Bucs. So, anyway, back to the
man, I might be on the wrong side of the fence.
I see them beating the Bucs at home, coming off a bye, which is a much needed bye, I think, as well, traveling internationally. But then they get a tough 3 games. They're at Tennessee. I said Tennessee would be worse, but I still have them splitting the series here. Then they're at Cincinnati, which I think Cincinnati will pull that out. And then they're home against Pittsburgh, and I think Pittsburgh's going to be a better team than last year. And also Pittsburgh has done historically well against the Colts. So I got the Steelers getting the win there. But I have the Colts finishing the season out on a 3-game win streak. Winning on the road at the Falcons, at home against the Raiders, and at home against the Texans. So you take a look at from week 9 to week 18, and if that's when Anthony Richardson gets the start, like I'm projecting, they go 6-3. Hitting the draft, you record 7-10. You still get a high pick. Second year on the head coach, second year on under Anthony Richardson, could be a playoff team. But I got to go on 7-10. And quick note before I pass it to you, and the over/under on FanDuel DraftKings is 6.5 wins for the Colts. So I have them right over that 6.5.
Y'all hear that? Pencil that down. We're going to also pencil down that Seth has this team beating Jimmy G and the Raiders, who are going to also be better this year. I don't think they get that done in week 17. I think by then, Oakland will be rolling. I don't want to make this about the Raiders. I say Oakland, Las Vegas. I don't want to make this about the Raiders, but I think they will be a playoff team. And by week 17, might be kind of tough when Jimmy G throwing that thing 100 yards to Devontae Adams.
Your quarterback preference throws me off. You like a Deshaun Watson. You like Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield, and Jimmy G. Sheesh. But
they're all solid, man.
Yeah, I guess so. So if you had to change 3 games, what would it be? Or 2, I guess, because you said the Raiders. And it could be a win that you think is going to be a loss. But let me know, what would you change outside of 2 other games outside of that Raiders game in 17?
Outside of the Raiders game, I would say, like I said in the beginning, that week 6 at Jacksonville. Like you said, when you're playing the division teams, after you already get that one game out and then the filming and stuff that goes into it, I think they'll come into that game better. I know it's on the road, but it could be a toss-up too. I think the Jaguars still have a lot to prove. They had that great season last year, but Trevor Lawrence is still young. This team is still building up momentum, so that week 6 game at Jacksonville, I could see the Colts squeezing away. And another one, man, I gotta go week 12 against the Bucs, man. Not even to be funny here, man. Because if I was trying to be funny, I would have. No, you got the Browns winning. We got the Browns winning. So I ain't even gonna say nothing. But mark my words. I keep telling people, I don't think this Bucs team is gonna be as bad as everyone thinks. You never know. They could be rolling right now in week 12. In Tampa, Mike Evans chasing, I don't know who record. somebody's record he's chasing, and it might be the record-breaking game right there. So I don't know, just a hot take from the ball.
Can I say something before we talk about? Colts fans, please excuse me. Y'all can yell at me in the comments that I jumped off of ship here, but Baker Mayfield, right, hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver under him. He had one, and it was Odell Beckham. And that year, Baker Mayfield threw 21 interceptions, trying to force the ball to Odell to make sure he gets his money. Baker's not a guy who the wide receiver position is very dependent, right? And I know Jameis threw 30 interceptions, right, when Mike Evans was there free Brady. But Jameis was airing that thing out down the field. Baker doesn't do that a lot. Jameis had a bigger frame, he could see over the offensive line. I think Baker's issue is he panics sometimes in the pocket. And he don't take those shots down the field. I want Mike Evans to get another 1,000-yard season because he's got one every year since he's been in the league. But I think with this type of quarterback, we're gonna save it for Tampa. I
was gonna say somebody's gonna get burned on this shit. Like either you're gonna look real crazy, or I'm gonna look real crazy. So we all completely two different sides of the spectrum when it comes to the Bucs.
I think the Bucs have a better chance of getting the number one pick than getting 500. Than winning 6 games. They have a better chance of getting the number one pick. But we're gonna get to that. Sorry, Colts fans. But good season for the Colts. I mean, you get 4 wins last year. You add 3 more wins, and if the season turns out the way that we expected, you look like you have your head coach and your quarterback for the future. All right, so now it's time to bring some things around them, and see if you can, push for a playoff spot, in the years to come.
They got all the tools, bro. They got all the tools, and I think when you have a franchise type of quarterback, I think that the ceiling is limitless. If things go the right direction, if you're plugging in the right way, drafting the right way, and you got that trajectory heading in the right way, and you see that across the league. When you look at other franchise quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, like Josh Allen, like Joe Burrow, when you really draft the right way and plug in the right way. Now look at these. I know Joe and Josh haven't got their Super Bowls yet, but they're knocking on that door. Joe's been knocking on that door for like the last 3-4 years now. So
yeah, bro. Let's see if Anthony Richardson can come out. There is a scenario where Anthony Richardson wins the starting job, and maybe he can hit the ground running and be this amazing athlete, right? And then maybe we're talking about 3 more wins. Maybe they can get a 10-win season. But it all hinges on quarterbacks. These teams with these rookie quarterbacks, you never know, right? It's a big question mark. College football and the NFL is totally different. So until we see, maybe we'll revisit the Colts throughout the season. But as of now, 7-10 is the prediction.